Have you ever been inspired by a movie, a book, or music? Something that really just resonated with you and kept you thinking. Matter of fact, even influenced what you were thinking about. For me, such a thing was a commercial that was done by an insurance company a while back. In this commercial, it starts out with a guy who's about to cross the street, and a stranger pulls him back just as a bus whizzes by. And somebody understands and sees that this event just occurred. So he later on goes and notices that there's a blind person who's about to run to a door and opens the door before the blind person even approaches it. That person realizes what is going on, and during a soccer match, when he accidentally bumps someone down, picks him up. And this constant action keeps repeating over and over until the person who pulled the guy initially from the street before he got hit by a bus is the one who was impacted. Now, in this commercial, they really focus on the fact that one positive action is all it takes to spark something much greater than the original action. And that corresponds a lot with the vision I'm about to share with you today. I picture a world where discrimination is essentially not the norm, where making racial remarks or commenting on someone's gender is not the norm, or rather is actually negatively influenced in our culture. And what I mean by that is simply this, where when you make those comments, it's not normal to say those things. It's, in fact, not normal to start discriminating against people. And the way I propose to do it is this. I feel like the music we listen to, the movies we watch, and the books we read, and any and every form of media has some sort of influence on us, whether or not we understand it. And I'm not necessarily talking about subliminal messaging. I'm talking about this idea that's presented, that's packaged so intricately into a movie or into music that we're not even realizing that we are having these thoughts, or emotions for that matter. And I feel like if we change what is being put out into the media, if we change the things we listen to and insert into our brains, I feel like us as a nation can start thinking and start acting at a higher standard than ever before. Picture the kind of music that you hear in today's society. Usually popular music or pop culture music has something to do with either making money or scoring with an individual, usually a girl. But very rarely does it ever say something that makes you think. And an example of this would be Fort Minor's Kenji song. Though it has kind of a dark connotation to it, the story is essentially telling you what life was like for a Japanese American during World War II, or rather after the Pearl Harbor bombing. It takes you through a story where he's at an internment. He starts off in his home and hears about the news, and the next thing he knows is that he's packing his life into tube trash bags just to go to an internment camp in a country that he is a citizen of. And eventually, during that journey, he befriends the guards and signs up to the military, only to be the one dropping the bomb in Japan. Now, this song is very powerful, and it gets very, very real very quick. But the point is that particular song puts you into a perspective that you may not be familiar with. Rather, it makes you a little bit uncomfortable. Now, I'm not saying this is what ideally I would want to do, but I would want to package messages in such a way into music, movies, and books where people start to think. And the way I plan to package the message is this. I plan to have the premise of certain art forms to revolve around this ideology that we need to help one another. We are the United States of America, and we are here to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. And what I mean by that is to just help people. And I feel like if we can change the message that's being portrayed through the media, then I think we can start changing the way people think. For me personally, I have noticed that I will listen to motivational speeches a lot. And the more and more I'm exposed to them, the more and more I start to adapt to them. I start to think like the speakers do. I start to have a mindset very similar to the speakers. And I've noticed changes in my life because I've been more confident as a result of these messages that I keep putting into my brain. And unconsciously or consciously, I'm able to package these different ideas into my conversations I have with friends and family members, even strangers I meet while I'm in college. And what I've noticed is that everyone who has said anything to me has always said that there's just an air about me, or they've really been motivated by something I said or did, or just the way I acted. And I think it all started with my media habits. I changed out what I was listening to, and I created a positive atmosphere in my own life. And I'd like to see this positive atmosphere spread across America. And I feel like eventually, with these positive messages that come out, more and more people will get inspired by them. They will think, maybe there's something I can do in my community, in my particular neighborhood, or with my group of friends at school. There's something that I can do to make discrimination not as prevalent as it normally was. And I feel like with this constant media exposure, it's going to take some time. It really will, especially because a lot of people, we're creatures of habit. People are going to want to listen to the stuff they normally listen to, or they're not really going to be used to this change. But I think repeat exposure to this positive message will eventually get people to start talking, to start them on a new path, to start thinking differently. And kind of like the commercial I referenced earlier, when one person starts getting changed by these messages, they're going to say or do something that's going to inspire another individual. And that's going to inspire another individual and another individual and another individual, almost to the point where enough people are inspired and so many people are taking action that one day we can do something about this discrimination problem. I feel like at the end of the day, everybody's got a story of some sort where they were negatively discriminated against for their religion, for their race, for their sexuality, for just their ideologies on life. And at the end of the day, I'm not saying we have to like everybody, but we at least have to have the common courtesy to get to know them and to understand where they're coming from, despite the differences we may have. And one day soon, hopefully, I see an America that has a new ideology where we are more accepting of cultural diversity than ever before, and we rather encourage it because we want to stay open, we want to stay up to date with how other people are doing things, and we don't want to necessarily have it be our way, but we want to have the best ideas put forward, and we want to assess different people based on their skill set rather than their background. And that's the America I see, and that's the America I envision. And I feel like we can do this. It all starts with one act of kindness, with one positive message that's put out into the world, and for one light to shine so that other lights can shine, and we can all be liberated from our fear of not speaking up against discrimination. Thank you.